Hello, I'm Justin. This is Kellan, and welcome to The Fizz. A flurry of news in the past week. OpenAI, Meta, Google, and I think maybe one other player, they've all shipped what we would describe as their version of an AI coworker. And so we have a few thoughts on some of the announcements and what that all means, but I think a bit of fresh air for us, Kellan, to get off the what's happening with Fable 5 saga. So some of the headlines from the news to kind of frame up some of our reactions. OpenAI has now released what they're calling ChatGPT Work, and we have a ton of thoughts about what that means. Microsoft's been pushing Copilot Co-work for a while now, and they're now standardizing on GPT 5.6 as the model. Meta released a product, I forget the name. Spark around agent orchestration. Gemini's launched some new features. There's a bunch of things that all came out last week. And so there's this sort of it feels like an arms race in the news cycle. And I think it probably is, where everyone's trying to figure out what is the set of products and features that people using AI actually want and get value from. And we've come a long ways from just go and chat with this stuff to people wanting to be able to do real work with it, get documents created, send communications, all of the above. But some of it's very confusing. I think this is a challenge that some of these labs are having. Kellan, regale us with your thoughts about the coworker craze from all the AI players.
I don't have any thoughts.
Let me go dig the guy out of the ground that said, I have lots of thoughts.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I do. You're right. Yeah. So like with OpenAI, I saw this and I popped open the actual app and it's just wild. Like, it's really bad. They're going to have to backtrack this app rollout, I think. Or go on like a campaign of trying to get people up to speed on their direction. It's definitely not going to be like a push situation. It's like a pull is definitely needed here, because they're trying to accomplish two things simultaneously, and like that's sometimes not really possible. One, they're trying to keep the software engineer type, the coding vibe coders, and all those kind of people happy with Codex. And compete with Anthropic's Cloud Code, and just the massive adoption over the last 5-6 months that's happened in both of those platforms, and also try to grow their consumer usage, which is mostly just been kind of conversational chat box type of experience, ask a question, get an answer kind of a thing, versus Cloud Code, which is ask a solve me a problem, like kind of agentic, quote unquote agentic harness type stuff, into like the realm of the business and personal and all that kind of stuff around, not just around coding, but any type of computer use stuff, which makes sense because a lot of people that use Cloud Code don't really use it to code. They use it just to try to solve different types of problems. Build me a presentation and let's go back and forth on it, which you can do in chat.
Sure.
But you do get more like power in Cloud Code, and you can give it a plan. You can give it like a larger kind of task to work through, versus chat is somewhat limited in that regard. It's got to think of it like single threaded versus multi-threaded. Anyways, so Anthropic released Co-work. Obviously Microsoft has Co-work. The nouns are getting out of control. And then for the chat side, the consumer people who just want a chat box, like just open app, ask question, that's now hidden behind a pop-up. It's not even front and center anymore. And Anthropic's kind of fumbling a little bit too, where like
I agree.
Co-work is now the default in the chat experience. So like you could accidentally kind of walk into a co-work session with the assumption you're in a chat experience. So like what I was telling you earlier was like, there's no home for co-work. There's no home for like coding for business people. I'm not saying coding, but like agentic engineering for agentic type capabilities for business people doesn't have a home
Yeah,
because
it's
they
very
built like Cloud
confusing.
Code and they built Codex for coders. So the whole branding and everything is around coding. Discovered that, oh, this is actually good for everything else too. So they added Cowork and Work for ChatGPT and stuff like that. But they're like, I don't know where to put this.
Yeah.
And it just kind of represents a fundamental kind of change management issue, as well as like not really understanding either user base well enough to make this change. So it's kind of bad. It's like it's not a good look for like, I don't know, like product managers maybe. I don't know who would be generally like responsible for like the evolution of UX and naming, but those people are struggling.
Couple of forces at play. I think both are true in whatever ratio.
Mm-hmm.
One is that users are communicating clearly, hey, if we're us as non-developer people,
Mm-hmm.
we want tools like this too. We want a more agentic, autonomous, can connect to my stuff, can produce outputs, can go across systems, right? Can understand that something in my email corresponds with something in my CRM and et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
They want that. The other thing is these companies trying to sort of push this out, like this is the way we think you should be working. I think it's confused. I think it's very confusing to the uninitiated.
Yes.
It's even confusing to us, but we're in this stuff all the time where we can kind of like, okay, maybe it is 30 minutes. We're like, okay, I kind of get it.
Yeah.
But I think there is a bit, I think this is a race because I think companies are competing for market share. They're competing for users. I think these companies are run by very smart people. They know that even people like you and I, we're not going to pay for subscriptions to OpenAI, Cursor, Anthropic, Google, Meta. We're like eventually like we're going to find the thing that works the best to bring all this together. And so when you see something like Cowork from Anthropic take off,
Mm-hmm.
you can kind of feel the vibe of, oh, okay, people like that. So we need that. Otherwise, people start defecting from our platform to their platform. And you've heard this. I think a lot of it is clickbait of people, oh, we're all dumping Claude code and shipping to Codex, and then vice versa, and things like that are happening. But I think what I perceive people to be really struggling with is the classic hype meeting reality thing on this coworker idea. Like you see all these ads of it's like orchestrating all these activities on your behalf, and it's connected to this rich knowledge base in the background and doing all of these things. And people usually they show up to the chat and be like, "Help me do this,"
Mm-hmm.
right? And they kind of find their way through it, and it's very confusing. I my take on this too, I think your confusion about where do things live. I think Claude Code is a fantastic product. I think Codex was a really good product and it improved a lot. But I felt at home over there when I was doing things like building software.
Mm-hmm.
And with Cowork, so in Claude Desktop, which I use the most often nowadays, I'm actually spending most of my time in the Claude Desktop app. There used to be 3 panes. There was a chat pane, a Cowork pane, and a code pane. And I found myself using mainly code and chat. So I'd
Mm-hmm.
go over to chat if, hey, I need a recipe for dinner tonight. Here's kind of what I'm thinking. It's great for that. Or Kellan and I were looking at doing a golf trip. Give me some ideas. Like chat, I don't need Claude Code for that. Like chat is perfectly fine. And I can go search the internet and do all these things. But now there's just Cowork. And I think what's the struggle about that is like Cowork there's a lot of value to be attained from these tools. And we'll probably get into that later in the show too. Cowork in all its various forms. I'm not just talking about Anthropic, like all this general class of AI product. They want you to be in some type of project folder on your computer
Mm-hmm.
where the things that relate to what you're working on are there and available in like a read write type of a way.
Mm-hmm.
It can read files, it can make files. Number 2, it wants access to do things on your behalf on your computer or on the internet, right? And I think I guess something like on the magnitude of like 80% of people are still a bit freaked out by that. And so I think, okay, all these new tools are coming out, but I think the challenge is like, well, how do you actually get people excited about actually using these things and into them in a way that is not confusing? Because if someone says like, oh, you should check out ChatGPT Work, you download this app and it asks you like, what icon do you want to use? Do you want to use Codex or ChatGPT? And do you want which mode do you want to be in? And where do I chat? Oh, it's just like little, and so it can be very intimidating from the jump. Um, so there's like an onboarding experience here,
Yeah.
that is just sort of like an opportunity. Again, a lot of smart people working on this stuff. We'll see what happens. But it was interesting to see everybody trying to play in this space. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. A ceremony that needs to occur where everyone like kind of understands and gets on board with the change. That
Mhm.
didn't happen. Hasn't
No.
happened, never happens. They just kind of release notes, done. But like assuming that occurs, they can just get rid of all the tabs.
Mm-hmm.
Get rid of all the tabs, just have a chat bar on the top when you need it
Mm-hmm.
for really just like, I just have a quick question,
Mm-hmm.
done, right? Everything else should just be agentic.
Right.
Like this is a hot take. So I'm just saying like,
Mm-hmm.
it should just like be one tab, everything on you're working through on the left. Like chat is chat. It's just that why would sometimes you not want it to be powerful and other times you would? And the agents are smart enough now that they can determine like, oh, this is a code problem,
Mm-hmm.
or this is a personal problem, or whatever. Or you could just tell it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's there that we're not at we've reached a point where the models now are smart enough to deploy agents when needed or sub agents
Mm-hmm.
to understand they're missing a connection and we'll need to go figure out how to get that in, do all the things, right? To give you the answer that is needed
Mm-hmm.
versus the one that's like constrained by its like kind of limitations. So in my opinion, they don't need the tabs. Neither of them need the tabs.
Yeah.
They're trying to like make both parties happy. And it's like by doing that, you're making them both kind of like, what are you doing? You're confusing
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Like we don't need a tab called code. We don't. So anyways, like I just like I'm not like advocating for a new noun. I'm just saying like maybe we need to get rid of all the nouns.
Noun reduction. I think making the leap from a chat-based AI experience into an agentic type AI experience and co-work and code, whichever platform you're on, I think for me, they fall under that second category.
Mhm.
It's a really important leap for people to make. It's really beneficial when you start figuring it out in your own way. But I think we're in one of these states again with AI where there's just not a clear, established, known best practice. And so I think it's been a little hard for people
Yeah.
to figure this out on their own. Um,
Well, one last thing I'd say is like in the it's easy to like in retrospect kind of like burn people for like what you perceive as bad in the moment, but like I would like put co-work in the code bucket more than I'd put it in the chat bucket, personally. And I think the code thing is getting people turned around.
yeah, I think so. That's a
Like
good take.
I would just like maybe suggest that like get rid of like the whole code co-work thing. Just call it their agents. That's all that like it's like they're the same thing.
Hmm.
And I even on like ChatGPTs, when you switch the codecs, like the only real difference is that like it shows PRs and diffs and stuff like that.
Right.
It's like nothing
Right.
different about it. Like,
It's a
and that's
handful of creature comforts.
yeah, it's like it's the same thing. It's like you're not tricking anyone here. Like this is insane. And the same thing is true in Cloud Desktop. Like there's Cowork and Cloud Code are fundamentally the same thing. Cowork is just a little bit more gated. That's it. And Cloud Code can be gated like that too. So
Hmm.
they're fundamentally the same thing.
Hmm.
So it's interesting. Like when we're trying to like slowly move it to the chat, and it's like, guys, what's the harm in some finance person having a harness
Right.
that and like having like the feeling that they can do more with technology? Like that's seems like a
Hmm.
good thing. Maybe not. I don't know, but
Yeah.
that's I don't know.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting, at least in my own experience, to maybe talk a little about kind of like what our damn life is like on this stuff is because you and I, we've been at this thing for a long time. I have stuff that is kind of in different camps now.
Hmm.
And I actually kind of started mulling this over the weekend of like, okay, I have quite a bit of I honestly have quite a bit of sprawl. Use Claude Code when I'm trying to make something that's going to have a runtime,
Yeah,
an
that's a
app,
good way of putting it.
a
Yeah.
process, some sort of automation, some code, even if it's a script without a UI or something like that. Because even inside that harness, it's, through system prompts and the way that whole software architecture works, it knows that its main goal is to try and write code.
Mhm.
And then I have lots of things in Cowork that share some of that context from my knowledge base, especially about things we are doing with Tiny Bottle that affect the way I build an app, that affect the way I want to create some other materials and documents and things like that. So, for me, when I hear all this buzz of like, oh, everybody's now offering an AI coworker, that singular idea actually kind of freaks me out because I go lots of different places to help with AI. And I'm not trying to do the hype thing where it's like, I've got an entire team of AI agents working for me around the clock. But I do have I have a place on my computer I go and I go there every single morning. And I do very ritualistic things like plan my day, review, triage what's coming to my inbox. And that's working really, really good for me. But then I have a different place I go and it's like, hey, let's start preparing, marketing activities for the week, or let's start following up on things we got to get out to clients and things like that. And so I'm in lots of different places, in terms of what an AI coworker looks like. And when I was thinking about, well, what would it look like for me to start simplifying and bring this together? I was like, this is not a trivial solve, but I'm sure I'll get into more of that too. But for you, Kellan, when I said if I were to ask you what's your AI coworker? How would you even begin to answer that question? Please
I
just
don't
say
know.
Steve. Please just say Steve.
It's not Steve. Steve ain't the sharpest tool in the shed, our agent, our Slack agent. No, I don't know, because I have the same sprawl issue too, where I tried to kind of get into Cowork, in Cloud Desktop, and just found it to be kind of dumb and in a box. Where I'm like, why is this thing dumbed down where everything in my other ones are massively over powerful? This doesn't make any sense. This one is less capable. I can it's hard for me to be this is the same problem too whenever I jump over to Codex and jump to here. It's I got to make sure that my documentation is pretty good in whatever folder I'm working in.
Right.
Otherwise, it's lost all of this kind of momentum, if you will, on whatever problem I'm trying to solve. So I don't know. I can't see myself using Cowork anytime soon. People might say well, you're just more technical or something. It's not really. I don't when I'm doing financial analysis, things like that, I'm using Cloud Code. When I'm writing presentations and stuff, kind of switches in between chat and Cloud Code. Depends kind of what I'm making. But I definitely use chat. That's not going anywhere, because sometimes you just want to open your phone real quick, ask a question, get a response, ask some follow-ups, be done with it. And I don't really need a harness for that. I'm not trying to build runtime is really smart that. I'm not trying to build a process, a repeatable process around this. I just want a question answer done. So hiding the chat is a bad call, because that is going to be the entry point for most time people open the app. So because it's kind of like a middle ground between plan mode too, in a weird way.
Yeah.
It's you got chat, which is quick question answer, brain dumpy kind of stuff where you're just I just want to understand something more. And then you have plan mode, which is I know the problem, I just need help creating
That's the solution. Yeah.
what's the solution look like, question answer, kind of get me to a place where we can build something, process, code, whatever. And then there's actual building, which is that's pretty good in a harness, versus chat, which can kind of quickly get out of control with dozens of artifacts. And you're just whoa, why? I should have just done this in a, in a cloud, in a code session, whatever. So I don't know. I have a hard time understanding why I would need a third. But
yeah, it's there should be a fork in this road. It's are you a coder, or are you not a coder? And then
yeah.
because I've
Well,
run it.
one quick thing, Justin, was this is around the maturity thing again, the product maturity. Cowork kind of came in when Cloud Code was largely used in the terminal. So now it's not long ago, like a couple months ago, they've shipped an enormous amount of Claude
February.
desktop code features.
Yeah.
February. Okay, February. So parity between like Cowork and code in Claude desktop is at a point where it's like, why is there two?
I'm with
So
you.
that's kind of like when it made more sense, I think, when Claude Code primary like purpose was like kind of in the terminal in the CLI, and now it's like it's not so not needed. Like you can absolutely do everything you need to do with all the computer use, all the connectors, all the same capabilities for the most part, like 99% of it in Cloud Desktop, but they haven't cleaned up the UI surface.
It's a classic, rapidly growing company, separate product teams working on separate things. They're like
Yeah.
kind of the same, but they're like, we were in the Microsoft space for years, and how often you would run into this, kind of thing. So it's ironic that that happens here too, I guess. But there are some subtle differences, and that's why I'm leaning more towards it, because I am going to do this kind of cleanup effort for myself, because it's going to reduce some startup
Yeah.
costs and pain for me.
Sell me on Cowork.
Yeah.
I need to sell, I think.
So I don't know that that's, I think I'm going to end up going code and chat, just like you were explaining. And there's a couple reasons why. So I don't mind the co-work experience. I find it just shockingly similar to the code experience, especially in the desktop app. If the terminal freaks you out, like the desktop app looks really nice and you'll get emojis and it'll look great and all that kind of stuff. It's cool. Some things I've struggled with in Cowork is like, I'm gonna maybe want to check out how I do some of these normal activities I do. And I'd say the same, like maybe someone say like, oh, but you're super technical, Justin. It's like, well, kind of, but not really. This is mainly like Claude code, realizing this was the way to do things. So like when it's querying some of my systems to get information, those are happening with scripts instead of something like an MCP tool, because the script can be way more precise and faster and more efficient. So Claude decided, I'm going to write a script for this. And then Cowork is like, I can't do that. And maybe it can do it now, but it's like, I can't run that script, but I could use the tool. I was like, okay, well, I kind of want the best of both worlds. It feels like, and it advertises like a friendlier on-ramp for a non-developer role or person into agentic working.
Yeah.
But I think inevitably they're going to have the same challenges, but they don't need to be the ones that realize that they need a script to go query their system to help them with this thing they do. Let Claude figure that out.
Yeah. I think this is an interesting thing where like, the things that Cowork is good at and the things that Claude Code is good at, like they should both be good at those two things. Like the fact that like one is somehow like better at, like that just, to me, that just shows that like the other product hasn't caught up to that yet. For example, Cowork has like these pretty useful like plugins, like plug-in for legal, plug-in for healthcare, for accounting, small business. They have all these plugins, which you say, well, that's why I use Cowork. It's like that's just injected context. Like the fact that Claude Code doesn't just make that more apparent is a failure of Claude Code. It's not a win for Cowork. I mean, it is, but you see my point where I'm like, that's not like a reason to completely make a brand new surface. That's a reason to improve Claude Code. And maybe rebrand Cloud Code. I don't know, whatever. But I'm just saying, like there are many times where I'm like, yeah, I want that plugin. Like I want the Office Skills plugin because I'm creating Office. I'm creating presentations. Whereas Cowork, it's a little bit out in front of that. Like, what's the goal? Let's load the right plugins. Like you could argue that like Cloud Code should be doing the same thing.
I agree.
So it is a little bit more like with software, kind of like we're like, do I build something or do I grab something off the shelf? Just kind of got that feel to it. Is this a custom solution I need, or is this a off the shelf thing would work?
Yeah.
Cowork is definitely like the off the shelf. Claude Code is the custom, but the thing is, custom is so fast now. So like it's not the same comparison. It's just like roughly comparable to, it's like if you want the plugins, you can load the plugins like there. You just need to ask Claude to do it.
Yeah. Well, I think this is a problem everyone's trying to figure out. And by everyone, I mean the people making these software products, because they want people to use their AIs and they want to be relevant. And so they want to, but I think still we're in this world where you could go pick a company. You jump into that pick a regular company that makes something or does something that is kind of boring, that makes the world actually work. Jump into that company, like maybe there's some people worrying about AI, thinking about AI, but most people are still like just doing the work, doing their job.
Mm-hmm.
And so the connection between how does this thing actually help me and how do I set it up and how do I use it? I think that story, we can help make that a lot more clear for people as the technology evolves. Um,
Well, and for
and
the
just make it
the viewers
simpler.
of like this podcast, like they're basically the same thing. Cowork, code, uh, Codex, ChatGPT Work, they're the same thing. Effectively, they're harnesses for multi-step tasks. That's it. And so one hack I might suggest to the viewers of this one is like because Cowork and Code use a bunch of tokens,
Mm-hmm.
the providers are like trying to kind of manage that with their limited compute and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. But they're also balancing it against like marketing, like trying to get more users and things like that. So if you're new or bumping up against token limits and things like that, typically Cowork is given more tokens because they're trying to get more of those users. And so if you connect those two threads, like Cowork and Code are basically the same thing. Well, there you go. The same capabilities, but you get maybe 2x the tokens. That won't live on for sure. But if you are like on a $20 or $50 plan or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
like optimizing for like what you're trying to do with the amount of tokens you have is just a part of like this world now.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying subscriptions will live forever, but like they're going to be here for a while. And until that point, like maximizing where you put certain things is just a part of the equation now. And OpenAI is a little bit more freer with their usage limits. So if you're like, I got a lot of work to do, you might go more on the OpenAI route.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're like, I think quality is a little bit better on Claude side. So if you're
Mm-hmm.
looking at that, maybe more on the Fable, but they're still comparable now. 5.6 and like Fable and Gemini, what is it? 3.5 will come probably this week or next, and that'll probably be somewhat comparable. So like, usage limits and all that. It's so much to consider. So try to break it down as much as we can for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll get there.
So I think the two main things to stay on top of if you're trying to stay on top of AI is the first I think is more of a just pay attention to now, and that's model progress. Models are going to get better and better and better and better and better. That's always going to keep happening. And they're really good already. So new model ships is going to be smarter. But I think what's making a difference for people in their actually work is the second category, which is the progression of the software that uses the models.
Mm-hmm.
The Coworks, the Claude codes, the codexes, or whatever we come out with. And I'm hopeful that these things become more simple for people. And so it's an easier on ramp to understanding how to work in this sort of agentic capacity, in which, there's businesses like ours where you can go get training and advice for, but a lot of people, they're just been told, hey, go figure out AI. Right. And they're sitting there trying to figure it out. And I think what I was reflecting on this weekend when I was reviewing kind of my sprawl is what I really want is like the simplest possible entry point where I can just open up Claude and say, hey, it's time for us to work on marketing. And I don't need to worry about the fact that I've spawned, this is a GitHub repo over here, and this is
Mm-hmm.
a different thing over there. Like I want, and yes, there's work on my part to make sure all that context is available. But I think if I had any advice as a closing thought is, try not to get like 100 different ways of doing things
Mm-hmm.
with this stuff. Have clear, simple domain-based entry points, keep a very simple folder structure, use as few external tools as possible, to get things going. I think what you and I have probably experienced is we've done so much with AI that we have so much context. And sometimes we forget, oh yeah, that piece is over here and I need to
Yeah,
get
we
it
almost
over
need to
here,
clean it up. Yeah.
clean it up. Right. So, but maybe we'll get a new nouns, but Coworker Craze, hot on the news cycle the past week.
Yeah, it's a really good way to think about it in terms of the model versus the tool to access the model. That's a good
Right.
way of thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because the model is just the almost like think of it like a person, just a person. Opus is like one smart person, Fable's another smart person, and you just like which person you want to talk to and work through this, and then the tool is going to tell you're going to choose whichever tool you want to go talk to that person and give them more or
Right.
less capabilities to do that. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a good way to think about it.
Well, if you enjoy conversations like this one, hopefully every week from here forward, probably won't be perfect, but give us a like, give us a subscribe, tell your friends. Until next week, see you later.
Peace.